relationships. We're going to continue. We have 2 parts left. We have this one and we have the next one coming up. All right, so we have 2 weeks left of this. We're going to be pushing into just going a little bit more faster, a little bit more into all of this. I know we've gone over, again, this whole series that we've gone over the last couple of months, this thing that we've been into has been talking about relationships, it's been talking about friendships, it's been talking about fellowships, it's been talking about the importance of being able to fellowship with one another. It's been talking about being able to build on friendships. It's been talking about the importance of what does that mean to be able to get yourself around a group of people, and more importantly, a group around Christians, a group around people who are like-minded. We've finally gone into our portion of relationships, and we talked a little bit about how relationships are a blessing, how they're God-given, how God has given us that ability, that freedom to be able to find relationships, to be able to find that right person for us. We talked last week a little bit about being able to see the qualities that we want to bring into a relationship, the qualities that we should be able to demonstrate. And today it's going to be something a little bit similar to what I did last week, but I'm going to go a little bit more now into the thing of, okay, let's have this mindset right now. And again, I'm saying this for the sake of being able to understand just a little bit more about what does it mean to be into a relationship? What does that mean? And okay, you're looking for that person. All right, you're looking for that person, and what are we going to be looking for in that person? We talked about the qualities that we bring last week. We want to know, we know the fact that they have to bring those similar qualities as well, the maturity, different things like that. But now we're going to talk about, okay, what like almost actions, what are we looking for in that person now? What are we looking for like in these situations? And the activity that we have centered around for this for this evening, after we finish up the message, the activity that we have for you all is going to be something centered around this as well. So I want you all to stick around. I want you all to be part of this because it's going to be a good one. Because we're going to be able to kind of dive a little bit more about understanding little things like red flags and green flags, and just being able to know, okay, what's a good warning sign and what is a good thing to look for? What is something like, yeah, no, absolutely, that's a confident thing to be able to look for. Before we start off, though, I want to give several little examples, and I want to get your opinion. It's sort of, ridiculous, but I just want to kind of put our mindset in the right perspective here when we're thinking about this relationship. So the first one I have up here is, my title for this message is Don't Settle, Be an Example. I'm going to talk about that. Set an example about this. So let's talk about this for just a moment. So when you look up here, I put, what is a better deal? So if you can go to the next one for me, what is a better deal? So I have 2 mini pizzas for $10 or 1 large pizza for $12. Who thinks 2 mini pizzas is better than 1 large pizza? So the 2 mini, okay, no, let's not look at that guy back there. Let's not pay attention to that comment back there. But who would say the 2 mini pizzas for $10 is better than the $12 pizza, the 1 large pizza? Now, who would go for the one large? Who would go for the one large for 12? Think about it. You're just in that moment, one large 12. And okay, so I want you to keep that in your mind for just a moment. Okay, so you're saying the one large pizza is better than the $12 pizza. All right, let's go to the second one really quick. Before we go into the third one, we're going to go into the first and second. We're going to talk about these really quick because they're sort of food related. What is a better deal? One scoop ice cream cone for $7. I know that's kind of pricey, but that's what they're charging nowadays, I think, too. It kind of gets really crazy. Or a large ice cream bowl, a bunch of it for $10. Which one would you choose? A large one or the one scoop? A large one, all right? Again, you're thinking about the value of what you're buying. You're thinking about what you're looking to get. You're thinking about, okay, what do I want to, like, is best for my dollar, is best for me, being able to purchase this, and is going to give me more for what I'm buying. Okay, so these two things that I've given you examples of, okay, the reason why, and I want to say, is it because when you think about these two examples, why is it better to buy one large pizza for $12 than it is for two small ones for $10? Because I know when I go over to like the Vipers game, I know when I go to the UTRGV like baseball stadium and I'm going to go purchase food, I can see that they have nachos there for like $15,000. And I'm like, why are they charging me this much? I'm like, my tuition was already like, like twice as that. And you're still going to charge me this much and you're just going to ask me to donate to the school. That's a different story. But you see the food that they have there, you see what they're offering you, and it's so much. But then you can kind of see another deal come your way and you're like, wait, they're offering me more for they're offering me more for something a little bit less. Or it's a little bit pricier, but what? I get something more out of it. So asking into this perspective really quick for those two, would you settle for the two mini pizzas? Or would you wait for the one larger one? You want to wait for the one larger one. You're waiting for the one larger one. We're not talking about a time span. We're not talking about, okay, it depends on how much we're waiting for, like how hungry or not. But you're thinking, you see it right there and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to wait for just a moment here as I order. Is it like, if they have that, they're going to tell you like immediately, the two mini pizzas are ready right now. You can purchase them right now. You can get that right now. It's $10 or two mini ones, or give us like 10 minutes of your time and we can get you that one large for like $12. You're kind of thinking to yourself, you know what? I'm going to wait on the large pizza. And there's a reason why. You're not going to settle for just that one, small, two little mini ones. You're going to wait a couple minutes. It's a little bit of time, but I can wait for that one large one to come out. It's better for me. It's better for what I'm purchasing. It's better for my wallet. It's better for, my hunger. Same thing with the scoop of ice cream. Okay, they can tell you right now, we'll get you that one scoop. It's really fast, really quick. The large one might take a little bit longer to put together, to assemble together, but it offers more. You know that it's pricier by a little bit, yes, but there's more offered. You get more out of it. You get to have, you get to experience a little bit more out of that. And you're not going to settle for just one scoop. It's kind of like, sounds a little ridiculous. Like if you see some people like rush into it, they're going to just go like, yeah, just give me that really quick. And you're like, why did you just buy that all of a sudden? Like you could have just waited for that. Like it's only going to be like a little bit of time. But some people are going to have it, I just can't wait. I'm just going to take it. Okay, last one really quick, and I know this one sounds kind of crazy, but I'm going to make this, and I feel like this one should be like almost a no-brainer. But I put the iPhone 16 Pro Max here, it's $1,000, or would you get a Motorola Dynamic 8000X for $23,000? This is a real phone that's on the market. This is a real phone. It's an antique phone. It's a real Motorola from like the 1990s. It's one of the first models of the Motorola phone that came out, and it's valued right now at $23,000. Which one is better for you to purchase, a $23,000 phone or the $1,000 iPhone 16? Which one would you rather purchase? I see Abby, she's like, the Motorola. She's like, get the Motorola. If you're not Jacob, you're going to purchase the iPhone, okay? Because I know Jacob's already thinking, I'm going to go for the Motorola. I mean, look at that bad boy right there. I mean, that's just a good one right there. No, you're going to go with the iPhone 16. You're going to go with the iPhone 16. And why is that? Because you can do more with the iPhone 16. You can do more with this little guy right here than you can do with the gigantic dinosaur of a brick that they gave you like back in the 90s. And it's valued at $23,000. I wouldn't spend my money on that. Just because it's pricier, guess what? It doesn't mean that it has better value. Just because it's pricier doesn't mean that it's actually going to do more. It's actually going to have more. And again, I'm getting at this point right here really quick. So we talked about you wouldn't settle for just the one scoop. You wouldn't settle for the two minis. You wouldn't definitely settle for the Motorola phone that's going to do what? It's an antique. It's from the 90s. It's vintage. It's cool. It's retro. But guess what? It does nothing. Except maybe, if you can program it to make a phone call, if you can get it to work, hey, guess what? You can send a phone call and that's about it. The iPhone gives you all the qualities that you want. You can stream social media. You can be able to send messages. You can FaceTime. You can call. You can be able to search anything you want and everything you want. It's a little computer in your hands. There's so much happening in this, and why? I want to relate it to this. If you're not willing to settle, and I have it on the next slide, if you don't settle for just any type of food, so why would you settle for just any type of relationship? If you don't settle for just anything, if you're not just going to walk up and be like, okay, what's the first thing I'm going to order off the menu? Let me just buy that and get that, and I'm done with it. But wait a second. There was something better waiting for you. No, I don't have the patience for that. I'm just going to put that on the side. I just want what I want right now, right here. If you don't do that with your food, don't do that with your relationships. Don't just settle for any person that comes your way, but I want you to be an example of God's standards as a Christian, because guess what? You have standards. It's good to have standards. It's good to be what? It's good to be a little picky. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to having the person that you're dating, it comes to the person that you're praying for, when it comes to the person that you want to have a relationship one day, it is great to have standards. But if they're not going to match up to God's standards, then are they really standards at all? Are they really going to be anything worth being able to value? You wouldn't settle for just anything. Don't settle for just any type of food. Don't settle for any phone. Don't settle for just, whatever. Settle for the right thing. Be an example. We're going to be in one verse for tonight. We're going to be in one verse, and it's going to give us several qualities that I want us to be able to reflect on, that I want us to be able to touch on. And it's not a dating verse, but I want you to see that these qualities, these characteristics that you're going to see are going to be so good for us to look into our partner one day, into the person that we're looking to be able to have that relationship one day. Okay, and again, I know that if you are already in that relationship, you're in that relationship stage, or you're already married, or whatever that case may be, I know that these are still qualities, again, that you can reflect on, that you can look at, and you can continue to grow, and you can continue to work on, you can continue to help each other with, that the marriage, that the relationship, that whoever you're with, would be able to continue to grow and not just stay stagnant, not just stay still, but continue to grow in the Lord, be able to continue to grow with each other and please the Lord in so many different ways. So I want us to know that we need to have standards. When it comes to the person you're looking for, you have to have standards. Again, you go to the store and you're going to order something. It's like, well, just give me whatever. What do you mean whatever? Like, I can give you something totally random. Like, it doesn't even like fit. Like, if you're hungry and I'm like, just give me whatever. Okay, you go to Walmart. Whatever could be anywhere from the auto shop area all the way to like the groceries. You have to be willing to have a certain standard. No, I'm hungry, so what do I want? I want something in this category, but what specifically? Look and find, and what's the best deal? What's the best thing for you to have for that moment in time to be able to help you, to be able to, fit your need, and not just be like, just need whatever. Standards are important. Don't settle, but let's be an example. And we're going to talk about really quick in 1 Timothy. We're going to go to 1 Timothy chapter 4. And we're going to start really quick with one verse. I'm going to grab this. We're going to start with one verse, 1 Timothy chapter 4, in verse number 12. Tells us here. And I'll start in verse 11 to make it a little bit, I like this. These things command and teach. It says, let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. Basically what that's telling us, I want to use a different translation just to kind of see the words that they give us here. It says, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and the last word doesn't change, in purity. We're going to talk about what that means tonight, because there's several characteristics that Timothy's giving us here, and he's telling us, don't just, let anyone bring you down. Don't just let anyone tell you, whatever. But I want you to know that when they try to bring you down, I want you to know that when they try to take you out as a Christian, when they try to put you down in that way, you're going to exemplify these qualities. And these qualities, I believe for certain, are going to give us exactly what we need to find in that other person. Exactly what we need to find when it comes to us being able to have a relationship with somebody. The first thing we're going to talk about in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12 is, how do they speak? How do they speak? How does this person speak? When you're looking for that person, when you're looking around and you're trying to find somebody to be in a relationship with, and you want to go further than a friendship, and you want to go be able to say, you know what, I want to take that next step. I really am interested in being able to push this beyond a friendship and put you in a closer inner circle with me. One of the first things I think you got to realize is, how do they speak? How do they speak to you? The person that you're looking for in a relationship, is the language clean? Is there no cussing? Are they slow to anger? Are they slow to speak? Are they more open to listening first and careful with their words? These are things you have to take into consideration when talking with someone and wanting to know them past the friendship level. I think one of the biggest red flags you can clearly see in a guy is anger issues. I think that's a really big thing. Ladies, if you're listening to me right now, I think one of the biggest things you're going to see is anger issues in a guy. Sometimes guys can get a little too angry, and sometimes a little anger is good, not being so passive, not letting them just be run over, not letting them be pushed around, not being a pushover. But I think there's a certain level that when they have anger issues, you can see it. When the little things just bother them and they just start to, throw things, when they start to break things, when their voice just becomes so loud and just so aggressive. And because here's the thing about their anger. They're not going to take it out on their friend. They're not going to take it out on, their job. They're not going to take it out on their coworker, their boss. They're going to take it out on who? They're going to take it out on you. Anger issues can be very, very big red flag indeed. You don't want somebody who has these anger issues. And I'm going to put it this way too, because I think this is going to go a little bit further. Something that I didn't really plan for, but it just came to my mind right now because I really want to say this. Because I had a professor in college tell me this. One of the biggest, I think, liberals I've ever met in my life. One of the biggest guys who was like so far beyond God, so passed away from it, called the Bible a fairy tale book. And he goes, it's a beautiful fairy tale book. I mean, like, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of literature that you can have a good time with. And just like, it's a beautiful piece of literature. That's about as far as it goes for me in my category. And I was like, wow, this guy, and he would like, back and forth, left and right. It's just in his own agenda. But I think one of the things he said that's true. And I'm like, if you get that, why don't Christians get that today? Because he said this, ladies, if he cheats on you once, he will do it again. And if he hits you once, he will do it again. He says, if he cheats on you once, he will do it again. He will. It is a habit that they will not be able to break. It is a habit that is very hard to break. Now, I'm not saying they can't be redeemed. I'm not saying that the Lord cannot redeem that person. I'm not saying the Lord cannot help that person. I'm not saying that they can't have a successful relationship with them. What I'm saying is it's a very habitual thing that they're going to be able to do over and over and over and over again. And maybe at some point they're not going to cheat on you, but there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to try to cut corners with in a relationship that are not healthy. They're going to do a lot of things to be able to persuade you that things are okay when they know they're not, because there's the ability to be able to cheat someone or something out of the truth. And again, with the anger issues, again, thinking about anger, being slow to wrath, being able to say that, you're slow to wrath, because if they hit you once, if they put hands on you at some point, it's going to happen again. The trick is this, to make you believe that, no, it's, he's just, at that one moment, he just lost it. He made a mistake like everyone else does. There's no excuse for anyone to ever lay hands on somebody else, especially for a guy to lay hands on another girl. Never. I don't believe in that. I know there's going to say, okay, we're not talking about self-defense. We're not talking about something in a situation where someone's attacking you. That's beyond that. I'm talking about a relationship. I'm talking about two people where things can just get confrontational because they didn't agree what was for dinner. They didn't agree that the person forgot something at the store, and they gets upset because guess what? There's anger issues there. There's anger issues in that person, and they haven't resolved them, and they haven't taken care of them, and there's something there, and you can see the signals. And because guess what? From the very beginning, you can see anger issues. It's just sometimes we choose to ignore them. We choose to ignore what's happening at that point in time. We got to be very careful. How do they speak to you? Are they going to be aggressive? Are they cussing? Is their language bad? Or do they get to the habit of just using certain slurs or certain language, things, or do they have a certain, certain way of being able to speak? And you're kind of like, I don't feel comfortable with the way he's talking right now. Because my next point right there is, how do they speak to your friends? How do they speak to their parents? How do they speak to their friends? You think about that for a moment. Who are their friends? Who are they hanging out with? Who are they getting around? Who are they putting themselves around with? Who are they with? And again, I actually want to reverse really quick, because the same thing, I don't want to just pick on, the guys for just a moment, because I want to say guys, the same thing for a girl. I think one of the biggest red flags you're going to see is a girl who's very possessive and jealous. Because guess what? When they become possessive and jealous, when they become the type to just try to own you before they've even married you, if they become the type to be able to own you before they even have you with this ring right here that gets on the finger, before you made that commitment to God, if they try to possess you and make you jealous in that way, guess what? They're always going to be able to dictate every little thing that you do in your life. And we've never been called, to be dictated, to be told like, okay, you know what? I have to be in fear of just where I walk to and where I go to and who I look at and how I look at them and the conversation I have and, being a gentleman in certain ways, because then they take it offensively. We have to be careful with these red flags that we see. And because guess what? Jealousy, anger, possessiveness, they all translate to how they speak to you. You can see it clearly when you're in a relationship. If you're in that wrong type of relationship, or you have friends that are like that, that's the type to just cut it off right there and say, I'm not going past the friendship with this person. I don't care how they look. I don't care how they kind of come on. I don't care how they treat me. I don't care how nice it is. I know that red flag is there because I can see it, because it's right there. I have to be able to say, no, that's not it for me. That can't be it for me. That cannot be something I'm going to be looking for. James chapter 1, verse 19. Let's go there really quick. James chapter 1, verse 19. I have several verses up here, and I'm not going to go through every single one of them. I have them up there for those of you that are taking notes, for those of you that want to look back and look at them. But I do want to go over this one really quick. James chapter 1, verse 19, because it's something we talked about last week. James chapter 1, verse 19 says, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. It's said right there, the wrath that you have. It says right there, the wrath of man, not the wrath of God. The wrath of man is what is not righteous. It is not something good. It is not something that is righteous before the Lord. The wrath that we bring, not the anger of Jesus flipping a table over and getting mad in the temple. We're not talking about that anger. We're talking about the anger that man expresses, that humans express, is not a good type of anger to have. It is not righteous before before God. We have to be careful with how angry we get, and that includes how we speak, the aggressiveness, the loudness, the frustration that we express to other people, and how we get that type of anger, because it all comes out in sometimes not only how we act, but how we speak. How do they speak to your friends? If you have friends and they get around your friends, how do they treat your friends? How do they talk to your friends? Are they a little too, at times, sometimes you might bring a guy into, the friend group, girls, and guys, you might bring a girl into the friend group at times, and how do they act? Are they respectful? Are they kind? Do they speak the right way? Do they, fall into like the temptation of, oh, you know what, let me be a little flirty around these people too. Guys, you bring a girl into, your friend group, and you get to introduce them because this is a person you're getting serious about, this is a person that you want to introduce, but then you start to see some of the ways they talk to the other guys, and you're like, you know what? No. Got to cut that off right there. Are they respectful in their tone to other men? Are they respectful in their tone to other people? Are they respectful in their tone to your friends, and not trying to push boundaries that are not there, that shouldn't be pushed? And the same thing, girls, you bring a guy into the relationship, you bring a guy into your friend group, how do they respect the others around you, both guys and girls? How do they respect them as friends? How do they respect them in that area? How do they speak to their parents? That's a big one, and I think something that we kind of overlook at times. I think there's a certain honor, respect that they have to give, because it tells us in the Bible clearly that, guess what, you honor your father and your mother, because this is the first commandment with what? With promise. What is that promise? That your days will be long on the earth, that you will have a long lifetime to live when you honor your father and your mother, when you give them the respect they deserve, when you are respectful to your parents, your days will be long on the earth, because this is a first promise this is the first commandment with a promise. It says there clearly in Scripture right there. How do they talk to their parents? How do they talk to your parents? You want to introduce them to your family. You want to introduce them to your friends. To your parents. You want to bring them into that point. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do believe that if you're going to want to start a relationship, that one day when you're looking to a relationship, and you're kind of thinking and you're kind of going, okay, you know what? This is the person I'm looking at. They check mark everything I should be looking for. And you want to bring them, you want to introduce them to your parents, and you want to show them, this is the person right here. This is the person I want to look into a relationship with. This is who, at some point, guess what we're doing? This whole relationship thing is talking about one day we're looking for an end goal of what? What Scripture has called us, marriage. This is the person I'm being serious with right now. I'm not here to mess around with this person. I'm here because there's a certain connection that we both have, and I think this is, I believe that this is where it's going to. Introduce them to your parents. Bring them to your parents. Let them be the people that kind of, because guess what? They're going to be their in-laws at some point. You would, think so. You would hope so. You're praying for, you're looking for that. That's why we're talking about this right now. But how do they talk to their parents? How do they talk to your parents? One of the biggest things I was told when I was younger was, you can see just how well a guy is going to treat a girl based on how he talks to his mother. And you're going to see how well a girl treats a guy with respect based on how she talks to her father. It goes both ways. It goes opposite ways. I can tell you from my own personal experience, some of the people I met in my life, some of the people that I've had in my life before, I can tell you with 100% certainty, they have little respect for authoritative figures. They have little respect for adult figures. They have little respect for people. Friends, and I've met before, I'm like, guys, you have little respect for your parents. Like, you have no respect for the older person. Zero. And I can tell you from my own personal perspective, when it comes to my wife, when it comes to who she is, when I saw the way she talked to her parents, when I saw the way she presented herself in front of her parents, when I saw the way she spoke in front of her parents, when I saw the way that she respected them and the, yes, mom, yes, dad, yes, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. When I saw the way she was speaking to them, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? This is amazing, because she has the utmost respect for her parents. Even at times when you don't agree, there's a level of respect to show them that, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, I understand what you're telling me. I am going to listen to what you've told me. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a check mark right there for myself. I'm like, definitely. Because I know that at some point I can see that when this goes past a certain level, when this goes into a marriage status, when this goes into my mind, how is she going to treat me? And the same thing, when she would come over and she sees how I'm talking to my parents, overall, when we're speaking and we're going over these things, I'm like, she's going to see that how I talk to my mother is going to be pretty much how am I going to treat her. Is there a talk back? I'm just annoyed by this person right here. Like, oh, mom, you're so annoying. I can't stand you sometimes. It's kind of like wait a second. If I talk like that to her, when we're at home at some point and she's trying to get my help and I'm frustrated, am I going to call her annoying too? Am I going to say, you know what? You're just on my nerves right now. I can't stand you. It's like, wait a second. What? Red flag. How do they talk to their parents? How do they talk to your parents? And the last one, how do they speak to authoritative figures? Well, that's a big one there, because as we get older, you're going to meet people sometimes in the workplace. You're going to meet people at times, at the university. You're going to meet people at times when you go to college. You're going to meet people as you get older, and they're going to have jobs, or they're going to, they're going to have managers. They're going to have supervisors. They're going to have people in their life that are going to be above them. Do they just talk about them all the time in such a disrespectful way? And it's like, this person is probably the worst boss I've ever had in my life. They're so annoying. They're always on me. I can't stand them. Are they going to talk about people like that? If they ever talk to law enforcement, they talk about law enforcement. They talk about people in authoritative places like law enforcement. Are they just so anti, like, you know what? Like, I just can't stand that. I hate that. When they get pulled over, they're the annoying people that you see in the videos that are just trying to fight a cop just because they want to get, social media famous. Those type of things. And I say that not because, I'm trying to poke fun at those things. What I'm saying is this, how they respond to certain people within authoritative places, how they respond to some people that have a leadership position. Again, how are they going to respond to you who's not that person either? How are they going to respond to you at times? Both for guys and girls, both for men and women. How do they talk to their boss? How do they talk to their supervisors? What does that respect look like? What does that look like when they're speaking to them? And I think one of the last points that I want to put out at this is, are they constantly talking to others or about others? Are they constantly talking to people and trying to help them? Or are they constantly talking about people and saying, man, I saw Josh last week. He looked rough. You know what? Let's pray for him because you know what, man? I'm sure there's something going on in there. Oh, no, I'm starting gossip there. Wait a second. I overstepped the boundary there. Hold on, wait a second. Now I'm insinuating this when I go around the church and if I start saying, did you see Josh last week? Him and Joy weren't talking to each other. Oh, no. Guess what? That's gossip. That's horrible. Now people are going to walk around and go, man, well, maybe there is something going on. I start throwing things in there. That's not good. Or are they the type to keep it in private and kind of bring it up to you in private and kind of say, hey, I saw this, there was something there, but what do you think of it? Talk to me real quick. Is there something we should be thinking of, or is that just nothing? But don't start walking around. Don't be with the person that's ready to talk about, oh, bring me the cheese, man. Bring it to me. Like, let's have that gossip. Let's make our lives interesting by putting ourselves into other people's lives and spreading those lies. Most of the time, gossip, most of the time, that cheeseman, most of the time, the things that we want to spread like that are complete waste of time and lies. And we're ruining other people for that reason. That's not a good thing. Don't be with somebody who's constantly talking about others. How do they speak? Is their gossip ready to go? Are they ready to hear the next rumor? Are they ready to hear are they ready to walk into a room and go, hold on, I got to put my ear to that real quick. I have to hear what's going on in there. But that conversation's not for you, but I have to hear it. I have to know what's going on. I have to be in the know. Red flag. Careful with those people. Careful with the ones that aren't slow to wrath. Careful with the ones that are ready to go and gossip, ready to go in there and spread lies and spread rumors and spread those things. Should not be done. It's wrong. The wrath of man is unrighteous. It is not righteous in the eyes of God. Second point, how do they act? So we talked about in 1 Timothy, we talked about how their speech looks like and how they conduct themselves. What does their conduct look like? How do they present themselves in front of others? And I'm going to talk a little bit about, some little things here and there that I want to be able to get clearly across to us really quick. Let's go to Proverbs 20, verse 11. Proverbs 20 and verse 11. This one right here. Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. Even children are known by what they do. I know children at my campus, I know children at my school that as soon as you say their name, you're like, they did something they were not supposed to do. They did something they should not have been. And then you say another name and I'm like, wait a second, that person did what? I'm totally shocked by that. I never would have thought they would have done that before ever in their entire life. Even children are known by what they do. So what are we known by as we get older? What are we known by when we are out there presenting ourselves in front of others, presenting ourselves in front of work, in front of church, in front of God, in front of other friendships, in front of other people? What do their actions say about them? What do their actions say about what they're doing? Do their actions bring a certain light or do they bring uncertainty? Do their actions bring a sense of peace and helpfulness and not chaos and disruption? Actions can speak much louder than words at times, and when you're acting a certain way, I think that really can speak volumes about who that person is. Not only what they say, not only what they're saying, but I want to say that exactly what they're doing. I've seen a lot of people in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of people at times when I've been at, whether it was middle school, whether it was high school, whether it was college, whether it was the workplace, and I can tell you, I'm very careful with how certain actions look because I'm like, man, I would not want to be around that person one-on-one because people are going to think if that's who he's hanging out with, that's who he is. If he's around those people for a length of time, you become that. You start to become that. Why? Because in general, if you're around a larger group of people that have certain actions that aren't appropriate, that they do certain gestures, or they make certain jokes, or they say certain things, and they act a certain way, you become that. The majority will take over any time. You are the minority in that group. If you're hanging around people that are going to be acting a certain way and doing certain gestures and saying certain things and doing certain, little things that are not pleasing to God, are not pleasing to what the Lord has for us. What does their behavior look like? Are they the troublemakers? Are they the ones out there looking for trouble? Are they the ones out there, instead of looking for God, they're looking for trouble? Instead of searching for God, they're searching for that next problem. They're searching for that next trouble. They're just waiting to find the next fight. They're just waiting to find the next argument. They're just waiting to show you just how tough they are. Ladies, sometimes it can get kind of, like, wow, like you get impressed by a guy who knows how to take on a fight and knows how to be able to defend you and knows how to be able to stand up and act a certain way. And just every day they're kind of acting macho and they're acting tough and they're able to take on every fight that comes their way. And they're just like, I'll take down anyone that comes in my path. Get them right here, right now. And I will hit them and they'll hit the floor hard. And it can get like, wow, okay, look at that guy. He's tough, man. He's hardcore, but he's looking for trouble. Nowhere in that conversation did he say, I'm looking for, give me the next Bible verse to memorize. Give me the next piece of scripture to help my heart. Give me the next piece of scripture to be able to tell me what does God want for me in my life so that one day I can have the success that he wants me to enjoy, that I can have the marriage that is going to be blessed by him. No, they're asking for what? They're asking for the next fight. They're asking for someone to come their way and cause problems. Give me more problems in my life. That's what they're asking for. When their behavior shows that, when they make certain little gestures, when they do certain little things and you're kind of like, I don't know if that's right, or like, I don't think they should be doing those things. They're asking for what? They're asking for something that's not godly. They're asking for something that has not been told by God. Yes, that is good. Yes, that's 100% what we should be looking for in a man. Or ladies, you're doing certain things too. You have that, you're doing the same thing. You can make gestures. You can do certain things. You can hang around certain girls. You can get into this little popularity thing. And the next thing you know, you're spiraling down into this just thing of like, like people always know you. So that's the one that's always gossiping. Well, that's the one that's always with, like she was with that guy last week. And the next week she was dating that guy. And the next week she was with that guy. It's kind of like, wait a second. What reputation? What does your behavior look like to certain guys? What does that look like to certain people? How do they dress? Okay, this is a big one. I'm going to talk about this really quick. How do they dress? I'm not saying you have to dress like every single day like you're like the president of the United States. Like if you're the person that has to walk out, every day in a suit and tie and walk everywhere like that and present yourself everywhere like that, no matter where you're going to. I mean, you might see them at the beach too like that. And you're kind of like, whoa, okay, hold on now. You don't have to do that. But what I mean is this, is the way they dress. Are they out there because they're trying to say, you know what, like this makes me feel good, I feel good? Or are they trying to say, I'm trying to get your attention. Look at me. Like, look, I'm the attention right here. Like, look at all this. Because when they start to do that, that's when they get real, that's when things start to cross boundaries. That's when things start to happen. How do they dress? Are they dressing appropriate? Are they dressing a way that God has set a standard? Are they dressing in a way that is not going to be where you're kind of like, oh my goodness, like should I be looking or should I not? Or should I be staring or should I not? And the same thing for guys. We should have standards with how we dress as well. We should have standards with how we're putting ourselves out there too. Because if you're trying to be like, no, I need all the attention on me right here. I need everyone to look at me because this right here is who I am. This is like, everything I'm presenting and because this is what I want to show you. There's red flags there. There's red flags there because guess what? They're not trying to just get your attention. They're trying to get everyone's attention. They're trying to get everyone to look at them. They're trying to get everyone to view exactly what they look like. There's red flags there when it comes to how we should dress. Are they dressing the way that God would have them, say that's the right way to do it? Are they covering up enough in certain ways? They're not trying to go out there and say, hey, look, I mean, that's person right there. And then you're afraid to look around. If you're afraid to look, I mean, that's where you got to be careful with. Because why? They're going to dress like that. They're going to do those things. Even when you're in a relationship, they're going to continue to do it anyway. They're going to continue, and chances are they're not even trying to just, they're not trying to say, oh, this is for you, I'm trying to impress you. No, they're trying to do what? They're still trying to get eyes from other people to look at them. They're trying to get eyes to look upon you. They're trying to get eyes to look at them and still say, look, I still have this. Look, I'm still like this. Look, I still have this certain figure. I still have a certain way of looking. I still look like this. And we have to watch out for those red flags. We have to watch how we dress out there. It's the reason why we set standards. It's the reason why we set boundaries. It's the reason why we set these things, because there has to be a certain way of us being able to present ourselves before others, before God. The same way that verse says, don't you know your body is a temple? Don't you know your body is a temple of God? Like, don't you know the fact that God has redeemed you? God has, has commanded like these things to be done for you, of you, because guess what? You don't own just your body. It's a misconception. It's a misconception to think that it's my body, my choice. It's who what I am, so I do whatever I want with it. No. Guess what? Don't you know your body is a temple of God? Guess He created you. He made you. He's given you exactly what you have right now. So guess what? There are certain standards He's asking you to live by. There's certain ways he's asking you to present yourself, your body, your physical features a certain way before him. Because guess what? We don't own this. We're born today, tomorrow, we're gone. Guess what? It's not our call to make. It's not our call to make as to like, oh, I'm going to live for the next 65, and a half years. I'm going to live for the next 165 years. No, it's not our call to make. We didn't create ourselves. Somebody else did. God did. How do they dress? How do they conduct themselves around others? Again, to wrap up this point, how do they conduct themselves around other people? How do they act when they're around other people? Are they that immature person? Are they ready to go and have a good time and a fun time and act immature and be kind of like it's that kind of like weird vibe that you get when you go into a restaurant. You're like, I don't like eating with these people because they're just going to be loud. They're going to be obnoxious. It's a little scary at times because they're just out there. And in the minute, you want them to calm down, they get like, well, what? Like that's me, and they're ready to go out there and they're just ready to cause a scene. I don't know if we should be around that type of personality. I don't know if we should be putting that into our own, place, because guess what? There's a certain way that we have to conduct ourselves out there in front of people, because our actions are what overall, what am I getting at is how do they act? Do they produce a light? Ye are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hid. Same way we don't put the candle on the floor and let it just shine there, but we put it on top, we let it shine bright. Even so, we are the light of the world. Do their actions, do their conduct, the way they act, everything that they do, is it ready to spread a light to everyone else? Is it ready to show who they are as a Christian? Is it ready to show exactly what it means to be a Christian? Are they ready to show those things? Or are they hiding it? They're just like, no, I'm going to play the part in church. I'm going to go to church because he or she likes it. But then when I'm out in public, it's go time, it's game time, it's fun time, it's play time. Take off the church hat and put on the party hat all day long, except for Sundays and Wednesdays. Do their actions produce a certain light? Thirdly, how have they shown love? Okay, this is one right here that I really want to focus on, because John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only what? Begotten Son. Whosoever believes in him shall what? Shall not perish, but we have what? Everlasting life. I use that verse right now to kind of summarize this point right here. How have they shown love? This is one point I want to make really quick. How do they have history with others? We're getting into the nitpicky. We're getting into the depth of this part right here when it comes to building a relationship, because guess what? The chances are there's going to be times where you're going to meet somebody in your life that you're interested in who, guess what? They've had a relationship with someone previously. It's a shocker. I mean, we're talking about amongst Christians, like, wait, what? Like, wait a second. People have history? Some people have history. And I want to point something out really quick, but I want to continue this. I want to make sure that I'm going to say this point very, very clear and simple. Do they have history with others? How have they loved before in the past? Because guys can get very, very easily, and it happens with girls too, but guys can get very easily with telling the first girl they meet they love them. Oh man, that girl, I just love her. It's kind of like, wait a second, how long have you known her? Like 3 hours. It's like, she's like magic. It's like, it makes me just float in the air, and that's the one right there. Like, that's the girl right there. Look, she does everything. I mean, just so perfect. We get into the habit of just being able to say, I love you, just like freely. And girls, the same thing. They're like, oh man, I fell in love at first sight. It's that love at first sight. Oh my goodness, but how long have you known the guy for? Man, we just met right now, like at the gym, and it was just like, I mean, look at that. I mean, like that right there is just amazing. Well, wait a second, just hold on. What does their history show? Do they show a love that is based on a feeling, or you as a person? And that's where you take the relationship to a certain level. That's where you take the friendship into a relationship, because guess what? They're going to love you for what? Not based on how they feel, but based on who you are. Christ did not come to save us because he felt like being a champion at that point in time and go, man, I feel like doing something victorious right now. You know what? Let me go down and give my life to like save humanity. No, he did it because what? Because of who we are. The sinfulness, the sinful people that we are. He wanted to redeem his people because he loves us. And what is love? It's that action. For what? For who you're doing it for. Greater love had no man than that person who's willing to lay down his life for his friends. He's not saying greater love had no man than the person who's willing to feel so good and high and mighty at that one time. No, because he's willing to do an action for somebody, for something to better them. Your track record doesn't disqualify you, but I want you to know that if you're trying to do things and get right with God, and from the time you have that record to the time that you're trying to get right with God, that's what puts you back on track. That's what makes you qualified. Somebody who has previous history with another person, somebody who has previous history with other people before, does not mean that, nope, God has already called them out. Nope, they're disqualified. That's it. Their life is ruined for the rest of their lives. get them out, kick them out, they're not needed anymore, they've already done their chance, they've lost their chance. No. But here's the thing, many people have made many mistakes in relationships before, many people, and there's still a chance for them to be redeemed by God. There's still a chance for them to have a good relationship. But guess what? It's what happens from that time that they realize they're making mistakes and they fix themselves from that mistake to the time they're looking to get to a next relationship. What's happening in between there? What's happening in between that time? I think one of the best things that Brother Johnson had told us one time in a class about how somebody should, be in the workplace is this history of how much they're working. Like, they feel like it's a bad thing to see them go through so many jobs. But I like the way he said it when he said that, no, actually, I kind of want to see people go through a lot of jobs because it depends on the situation. He brought up a situation one time where he read about somebody who had a big corporate job, but then COVID hit, so they took up a part-time job as a pizza delivery person, and they delivered a pizza to somebody who they used to work with at this high company, and the guy was like, "You used to be my boss, and you're delivering me a pizza? Like, what happened? Like, I mean, like, have you really stooped down that low?" He goes, "No, I'm just providing for my family until something comes up, and until then, I got bills to pay, I got work to do." That guy's a hard worker. What didn't define him was the time he had the CEO job all the way to the next big job. What was he doing in between to get himself there? What is he doing in between that time to prove that he can get back and he can do something and he can be even better than where he was at before the pandemic, before when he had that big CEO job? What is the next thing? What is happening in between there? He can just sit back and mope and think, "Oh man, I lost my 6-figure job and what am I going to do now? And I'm upset because the world's the way it is." No, he went out there and did something about it. And he tried to fix his problem. He was working out there trying to do better. And the same situation I'm making here is it doesn't disqualify somebody from having history with someone else, but what are they doing in between that time frame? What are they doing in between that time? To be able to requalify again, to be able to say, "You know what, that's it right there. Now I'm ready. Now I know. Now I'm more mature. Now I know exactly what God has called me to do and called me for. Because even though I have history, I'm ready to go and fix this." How do they treat strangers? What do they do? I mean, like, sometimes we can see people that just go out there, and again, it's just like, they have this huge thing with just being overly committed, overly loving, overly passionate, overly flirty, overly at times with other people. And you're kind of like, that's a big red flag. Yes, it is. Because that's not what we're called to be. That's not how we're called to love. Love is not being flirty with another person. Love is not being, like carefree in that way and being able to just go out there and throw a nice little sly comment at the next girl, or girls being able to, flick their hair and say, "You know what, like, I'm going to get this guy to come look at me. I'm going to give him that little side eye real quick and see if he's going to look back at me like that." No, that's not love. We're looking at a different type of love. We're talking about a different type of love. How have they shown love before in the past? Because I can guarantee you this, we've all at some point, and if not, we will get to that point. We will get to that point where we've had feelings for someone else. And at some point, be honest, in your mind, you can make up an action of, "That's how I want that to work out. That's how I want it to be. That's what I'm looking for." We all put ourselves in that mindset. We all do those things. And if we have acted on previous history before, if we all have had previous relationships before, if we've all had those mistakes before, it's not saying that we can't get back on track and think, "Okay, you know what, that's it. Like, I'm doomed because I messed up once when I was, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a week ago, 3 hours ago." No, but it's to say, what are you going to do at that point to show to the next person how you love? What is the action that you're going to take? What is the commitment that you're going to make to proving that God is working in that person's life, in your life, to prove that God is working to get them ready for the next relationship to be better? Even to say this right here really quick, even to say this, that if they've had a previous relationship with somebody before, if they've had previous relationships, can you see that that person that they've had a relationship with before was better off after than before when they were dating? Because you can see people that just when they break up, it's like a wreck. It's a big wreck. They fall apart. They hit the ground hard. They just stumble. They're just like, "I will not eat anymore. I will quit everything. My life is gone. My life is done." That was a toxic relationship. That was not a good relationship to be part of. That person, if you have a history, or someone who's had history, look at them and think, did the previous relationship that they had, was the previous breakup that they had so hard on them that they still talk about them? They're kind of like, "No, I can't mention that name. It hurts too much to talk about that person's name. Like, I can't talk about." Wait a second. Why did that person leave them so heartbroken? What happened? What did they do that they pushed them to that boundary? Be careful with that. Relationships, even when you're pushing into starting one, should be good enough, should be respectful enough, should have enough boundaries in life that if you just kind of tell that person, "You know what, actually, I don't think this is going in the right direction. Like, this is not something I'm looking for. Like, I think we kind of just need to go back to friendship. I think we need to kind of just separate at that point in time." That at that point, they're kind of like, "Well, you know what? Thank you for this relationship that we got to have for just a moment, because guess what? I feel like I'm better off now than where I was a year ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago. Like, God has made me be able to see like the blessing of this type of thing. And I'm thankful that we've had this opportunity, because guess what? Now I know what to continue to be praying for in a person. Or when they break up, they're just so heartbroken. They're like, you know what? No, my life is done. That guy, I'll never find another guy like that. I'll never find another girl like that. I want to say this right now. You'll find someone better. You will get somebody better. You will have somebody better in your life at some point. Believe me. Yes, you will. So, next point, point 4. What do they believe? What do they believe? Do they show a certain level of faith? Let's go to 2 Corinthians 6:14 really quick. 2 Corinthians 6:14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? That's a big verse right there in that verse, because it tells us here, do not be yoked together with unbelievers. Why? What do righteousness and wickedness have in common? What do good and bad have in common? They have nothing in common. They have nothing in common. So how do we have something in common with people out there who are not believers? What do they believe? I want to make this because the next 2 points I'm going to have is pretty much almost a yes or no. Almost a yes or no. Do they show a certain level of faith? Are they surrounded by others of faith? And do they yield their life to God? Are you searching for someone who's going to show a certain level of faith? And I don't want to just say, because you can find someone who's attending church and they're the furthest away from God they've ever been before in their life. I'm not saying you have to search for the church man or the church girl. I'm not saying that. Why? Because you have to be careful with that. But what does their faith show? What do their conversations show? How do they conduct themselves? How do they love others? And do they show a certain level of faith? What does their faith show about them? And they're surrounded by people of faith. In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25, it tells us to seek a multitude of godly what? Counsel. Surround yourself with people that are godly. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded. Surround yourself with people who are going to be Christians, who are going to act like Christians, who are going to think like Christians, who are going to want to please the Lord, who are going to want to be able to just think like God. Like in the most mindset, like, you know what? We want to be honoring and glorifying and pleasing in the best way possible to God. Are they surrounding themselves around that type of crowd? Or are they just saying, you know what, now I have 1 or 2 Christian friends and the rest of them are out there just, giving me the craziest advice I can think of about heartbreak and relationships, about how to live my life and how to find happiness? Are they surrounded by others who show faith? Do they show a certain level of faith in their life? That's a big thing, because my last point there is, are they equally yoked with you? Are they equally yoked with you? It tells us there. And equally yoked doesn't mean that you're a Christian for 20 years and they're a Christian for 20 years. You're a Christian for 1 year and they're a Christian for 1 year. They're a Christian for 6 hours and 25 minutes and 36 seconds, and you got them by 7 hours and 55 minutes and whatever the case may be. No. We're not talking about time frame. We're not talking about, a certain level of time frame. What we're talking about here is, are they equally yoked? Meaning, are they able to have the same spiritual maturity that you do? Are they able to have a spiritual maturity that you can achieve as well? Like you guys are similar in that way. That you have a similar spiritual mindset, that you all are able to work around your spiritual maturity in the same way. You're able to find somebody who can think spiritually like you, and they can keep up, and you can keep up with them, and they continue to drive you, and you drive them, and you're pushing them to get closer to God, and they're pushing you to get closer to God, and all these things start to work. It's not about a time frame. It's not about knowing the fact that, oh my goodness, Nathan has been a Christian for 25 years, and this other person over here has only been a Christian for like three hours. Again, I'm saying that because why? You got to just watch. I know time frame matches up in a certain way, because new believers, at times, you're not going to really go with somebody who's been a believer for decades and decades and decades. But what I'm saying is this: the level of yokeness, that if you're equally yoked, it equals the amount of, what is your spiritual maturity at? You know your level of spiritual maturity. You know where you're at in your relationship with God. So who are you looking for? Who are you looking to help match that? Who are you looking to help you drive that? Because you wouldn't put an ox, you wouldn't put one strong ox or a strong horse with a tiny pony or a tiny animal to help pull it. That animal is going to get dragged by the stronger animal. And at times the stronger animal is going to get tired, even a lot more than the little one. It just doesn't help. It doesn't drive them together. But when you put two of pretty much similar size animals together to do one job, to push for one job, it helps because they know how to drive each other. It helps because they know how to find exactly their needs and understand, oh, that's what we need to do to make the goal achieve. That's what we need to do to be able to like drive this and get there and get there. Are they equally yoked with you? Are you equally yoked with them? Are you finding the right person at your spiritual level to be able to match with you so you guys can grow together in the Lord in the right way? You guys can grow together in your spiritual walk and relationship with God. Lastly, because we talked about conduct, we talked about speech, we talk about love, we talk about their belief, and lastly, this one, purity. This is a yes or no. Girls, ladies, men, guys, this is a yes or no. Are they committed to purity? Okay, now we're getting into something like, whoa, hold on. I'm going to talk about this. Are they committed to being pure? Are they committed to being pure? It's a yes or no. Ladies, if he tells you, no, I'm not, like, I don't think that's something that's an outdated mindset, cut him really fast. Get him out of your life as quickly as you can. Okay, I'm not saying you can't be friends, but I'm just saying this. I think it's dangerous when you keep those people around your life because they don't understand this Christian standard here. That the Bible has called us to live a certain way, that the Bible has called us to have a certain standard because of our bodies, because of our beliefs, because of what Scripture has told us. Because we know exactly what it means to be pure. Because we know what exactly it means when it comes to sex, when it comes to these things. It's made for what? A man and a woman, because it's made for them together as a married couple. We know the fact that what it means to stay pure. We know that this purity is something that God does not take lightly. It's a yes or no. Are they committed to staying pure? If they tell you no, guys, cut them. Get them out of your life. Do not go any further at that point because guess what? Boundaries will be pushed. Because thoughts will come to your head. Because certain things will be broken and you're going to be very, very disappointed at some point because guess what? You did not at some point think back, what were the red flags? What was their talk? What was their speech? What was their belief? How did they love? What did they do in previous relationships? Why did I get to this point in my life where I've done something so wrong and so terrible and so horrible? And guess what? Wait a minute. How did I get to this point in my life? Did you not see the red flags about the way they talk to others? Did you not see the red flag that they did when they were acting a certain way with another guy or another girl? Did you not see their belief? Were they a believer? Do they know God's standards? Did they have God's standards in mind? Are they that believer? Do they have previous, wait a minute, did you not ask about their previous relationships? Because you know about previous relationships. Did they talk about that for a moment? Wait a moment. We're getting into something super heavy here because guess what? When it comes to relationships, when it comes to being in a relationship, when it comes to dating, when it comes to us thinking about that, guess what? These things come up. And you have to know that you have to be able to present that this person has to be equally yoked with you. This person has to be at the same level of faith. This person has to be able to talk a certain way, act a certain way, believe a certain way, love a certain way. So you can know that, guess what? Are they committed to purity? Yes. Yes. They should be. And if they're not, that's not the person for you. That is not the person for you. I'm not talking about, and I think that's something I think we can go into like later on, especially when it comes to more young adult talks, but we can talk about mistakes that we made in life. We can talk about things that, like, okay, wait a second, I met people, what happens when so-and-so's told me this, and, these things. We're not going to talk about that. What I want to talk about right now, right here, right now, when you're looking to pray for the one that God is calling you to, when you're looking to pray for the person that God wants you in your life, are they committed to being able to say, I'm going to stay pure until God has called me to the right person, till I can find the right person, till I marry the right person, and that person right now is the one for me and I'm the one for him. I want to be able to say that purity is probably like the biggest standard here. It's at the end of that verse because guess what? All those other little things lead up to this point right here. The actions, the words, the love that they've given, the history that they have, the belief that they have, everything adds up to this one thing right here. Are they willing to stay pure? 1 Timothy 4:12 says what? Show them an example of what it means to conduct yourselves, to talk, to show love, to show your belief, to show your faith, and guess what? To be in purity, to be pure. It's not something that God takes lightly. It's not something that God just says, okay, it's just whatever. It's just, it's kind of like, like the foods that you eat or, like the dinner choices you get or the lifestyle of like the home that you want to buy. No. This is something that God has set a standard on that we have to be willing to follow. Ladies, guys, you have to find somebody. You want to find somebody. You're praying for God to bring somebody who can answer yes to the question of, can you stay committed? Are they committed to purity? That's a big one. So many relationships fall. So many relationships fail. So many relationships go into just turmoil. So many relationships just falter and fail and just go down because of what? Because they could not answer that one question. Because they were too scared. I can't talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it because I haven't had that conversation because I don't think this. But guess what? The red flags are there. And if you don't understand this, if you're not looking for this, you're not ready to have that relationship yet. You're not ready to have that spiritual immaturity just yet, that physical maturity that you need to be able to do those things, to be able to understand those things and being able to set boundaries with that other person and say, no, God has called me to a certain standard and I'm going to honor that. I'm going to honor that every single way that he needs me to and every single way that he's called me to. So many relationships, so many friendships, so many things go wrong in so many marriages and in so many relationships because of what? Because you can't even keep to that one promise right there at the end of everything. Purity. Stay with that. Keep with that. Hold that in your mind. Keep that there, because when you're going to build a relationship, when you're going to have a relationship, if you're praying for it, if you're looking for it, if you're thinking about it, if you're like, I want that to happen, that has to be something. I put that on there, A or B, yes or no. Yes, they are willing to stay committed, or no. That's like something that they're like, what do you mean? Like, that's like an outdated, old time thing. Out. No. Like, that's okay. Thank you. You're done. Or are they willing to say, no, I know what God's standards are? As we close tonight, I really want us to focus, because I think the last message I'm going to have is pretty much understanding how dating can be an uncomplicated thing. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be something that's like, wow, like this is the hardest thing I'm looking for in my life. No. God did not call it to be complicated. We complicate these things. We make this harder than what it has to be. We make this harder than what it should be. We follow him. He makes it so much easier. And again, as we're wrapping this up, as we're closing this, I want us to really think, okay, am I looking for that relationship? Am I praying for that relationship? Am I looking for someone that's going to show these qualities? Am I going to find somebody that's going to set an example? I'm not going to settle. I'm going to set an example, like 1 Timothy 4:12 tells me. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we want to thank you for this Wednesday night. Lord, we want to thank you for this time that we get together. We want to thank you, Lord, for your word. We want to thank you for 1 Timothy 4:12. Lord, I pray that we would be an example. I pray that we would be an example for everyone out there. It tells us there that don't let them despise our youth, Lord, but that we want to be able to set an example in our speech, in the way that we talk, in the way that we act, in the way that we love, in the way that we believe, in our faith, and in our purity. Lord, there's so many things, there's so many qualities that we're looking for when it comes to our relationship one day. And if you're in that relationship right now, these are qualities that you should be able to check mark. These are qualities that we should be able to go through and say, yes, that person right there demonstrates these qualities to me. Because why? That is what God has called me to have. That is what God has called me to look for. That is who God has called me to search for, to have those things. Those are God's standards. If we don't have God's standards, if we don't have your standards, Lord, do we really have standards at all? This is not something of my opinion. This is not something that I have put together because I created this. Lord, this is something that you have given to us. And so, Lord, I pray that you would touch our hearts in this way and help us to set that example. Not settle for just any guy. Not settle for just any girl. Not settle for just the next person that tells us they love us or that they're interested in us. But, Lord, that we can find the qualities that we need in this way so that we may be able to set an example, Lord, to the world, to set an example to our society of what it means to be a Christian, what it means to date in this world. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.